Hello, everyone. I am Joanna Smith Ramani, the co-executive director of the Financial Security Program of the Aspen Institute. And to say that I am delighted, thrilled, excited, I don't even know the words to use, that I have two amazing US senators in this conversation with us about early wealth building and startup capital for life would be an understatement of what a big deal it is. We have Senator Casey from Pennsylvania, Senator Booker from New Jersey. These are folks who you know, but who also have long lists of priority items and agendas, and they are carving out not just time from their day to day to talk to us about startup capital for life and early wealth building, but they're carving out part of their policy agenda to make this a reality for children across our country. So we're going to talk about this a little bit today, senators. And again, like truly from the Aspen Financial Security Program and from all of our viewers, thank you so much for your attention to this urgent issue and for spending time with us today to let us know what's on your mind about it. I'm going to start with you first, Senator Casey, and ask from your perspective, this is now sort of multiple legislative sessions. You're trying to get real important substantive legislation moving on this. Why is investing in early wealth building, really meaningful sums of money for the smallest of our community members, an important wealth building strategy for you? Why is it high on your list of policy objectives?
Joanna, thanks so much for your time and for the opportunity that Aspen's providing both Senator Booker and me. And I'm grateful to be working with Cory on so many important issues for our country. And this is one of them. And no one has been a stronger advocate for our kids than Cory Booker, way back from his days as mayor and even long before that.
First of all, I'm honored to interject here that's a lie. I've never seen Casey lie before. There is one person who has been a stronger advocate for kids than me, and that is Bob Casey. That's the last time I'll interject. Your time. I see my time.
Well, let me just say it's the perfect combination then of two people who truly have committed their careers to our country.
There's no way that's a lie.
Well, so tell me what's on your mind about it then, Senator Casey. Why this particular part of a young person's life?
Let me tell you how I arrived at this.
Yeah, thank you.
In the early part of just before COVID, about a month before COVID, I unveiled a proposal, kind of an overarching proposal for our children. I called it 5 freedoms for America's children. The freedom to be economically secure is one of them. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
But the freedom to be healthy, the freedom to learn, the freedom from hunger, and the freedom to be safe from harm. And that first freedom, the freedom to be economically secure, can't be arrived at, can't be achieved for so many American children because they don't have any wealth to start with, right, nor do their parents, nor does anyone around them. So I believe that every child in the country should have the opportunity, the shot for economic security and to earn a living wage when they reach adulthood. Giving every child a savings account that's seeded with money gives them, and I would argue seeded with federal money, gives them something to live for. It literally gives them more control over their economic future, their economic destiny. Here's some of the numbers which many of you are familiar with. Almost half of American children are unlikely to have meaningful wealth by early adulthood. A quarter of American households have less than $1,000 in wealth, and these children's savings accounts break that cycle that you all know so much about, so that young person, when they reach adulthood, can have some resources to be able to attend college, start a business, or to buy their first home. So it's really about giving children the kind of freedom that we claim to be espousing here in America.
Well, thank you. And I think having that also connects to the other freedoms, really the ability to even then realize those other freedoms that you have brought up in the 5 freedoms. Senator Booker, what does it mean for you, startup capital for life? In hearing about how Senator Casey came to this and the work, as he mentioned, you did as mayor of Newark, and how does this connect to kind of the broader way you see young people growing into adulthood and thriving?
Look, it may sound like we were joking back and forth, but the truth is, Bob Casey, even when I was a mayor, was leading in this space in the United States Congress and making the very logical, evidence-based assertion that in a global knowledge-based economy now, the greatest natural resource that any nation has is the genius of their children.
Yeah.
And the more our children can cultivate their unique gifts and their genius, the better the nation does. But when you have children in a country like ours, that we leave so many of our children on the sidelines, and by that I mean the economic sidelines, by that I mean poverty.
Yeah.
We so much of our wealth on the sidelines that we as a society as a whole miss out on that wealth. And so Senator Casey has been looking at ways to cultivate that genius. He's one of the champions we have on, again, evidence-based things: invest in childcare, invest in paid family leave.
Yes.
But we know in a capitalist society that wealth begets wealth. And when you have a child, by the time they turn 18, instead of sending them into a deep troughs of debt, could actually set them up to invest in a college education, invest in skills training or apprenticeship programs, invest in buying a home, the things that we know create generational wealth.
Yeah.
Then that wealth multiplies to us all.
That's really exciting. Say more about how you see this, Senator Booker, creating generational wealth, or a little more even about how the proposals are slightly different, but ultimately they have the same values and goals that we've been talking about here, which is every child being able to fully realize their potential and contributions in our country, right? Like we are missing so much creative potential. We're missing so much contribution because, as you said, Senator Booker, we're leaving kids on the sidelines here. What parts of the intergenerational wealth do you think are solved or made better? These huge gaps in intergenerational wealth as a result of these accounts.
Well, first of all, poverty has costs, and Senator Casey and I were two people who fought to get the expansion of the child tax credit, which lifted 40-50% of our families above the poverty line. Every dollar spent to get a child above the poverty line returns $3-4 back to our economy in terms of that child's growth. But this idea of the savings accounts that both Senator Casey and I believe in, by the time a child can reach 18 years old, and they can have in our baby bonds bill up to $48,000.
Amazing.
That's a pretty stunning amount of wealth.
Very much.
At a very low cost when it comes to how we already use our tax code to shift wealth upwards. I am all for 529 accounts. I'm all for the mortgage interest deduction. But we have to understand that the top quintile of our wealth in our country, the top quintile uses the overwhelming majority of that tax expenditure. So we are spending over $600 to $700 billion a year moving wealth upwards through our tax code. Why not do something for the children? A fraction of that, 10% or less of that could go into creating these funds, which actually create greater return than some of the other things we do, like carried interest, to shift wealth upwards. And the impact we have seen, first of all, as Columbia University says, it virtually eliminates the racial wealth gap in our nation. It is not speaking in any way towards race in the design of the program, but the outcome is this incredible leveling where all kids are getting more of a level playing field in order to invest in the future. And again, the multiplier effect, all the studies show that in a capitalist society, it takes wealth to create wealth. Well, if you give kids at 18 a seed capital, which in a sense is inherited generational wealth from the wealth of this nation, they are able to roll that into things that sustain generational wealth and create an expansion of opportunity and get, again, people off the sideline and into the game of our economy better.
And for you, Senator Casey, is that partly what pulled you into, again, a career of really looking after America's children? And you said to yourself, we actually need like a financial mechanism to make this happen differently. So what feels unique, special, like the different opportunity in this idea alongside the other ways we're trying to help children in this country?
Well, I think that the opportunity, as Senator Booker made reference to be transformational, to finally say that we're not just going to have a lot of rhetoric, which we've had in Washington for decades about children, and finally do something to move the needle substantially in their direction. I think the child tax credit was a good example of that. We should do it again, the enhanced version of it, which was transformative in a matter of months. I don't think anything we did in 50 years had as much impact as that. And I think there are some good models out there already. We know, for example, my bill focuses on utilizing some of the existing structures and templates and players really that have been in this space for a while, whether it's asset investors or financial planners, state governments that have been running 529 plans for years.
Yeah.
And to make sure that we have a focus on lower income families who don't have any opportunity to get even a foothold in terms of their financial future.
I think that your points about the design and kind of who it's for, both you, Senator Casey, and Senator Booker have talked about. I have to wrap us up, which gives me great pain because I have a million more questions to ask you guys about this and the deep kind of technical knowledge you both have spent learning to, again, to really improve our children's futures and lives. And I'm so grateful for it. But so that you can get back to your other jobs, your day jobs, your senator jobs, let me wrap us up with this last question. And maybe we'll start with you, Senator Casey, and round it out with you, Senator Booker. But watching on, we're pre-recording, but there's going to be a live event that's happening around this conversation, really focused on innovations in early wealth building and startup capital for life. And so you are having viewers who can do something alongside of you. And I'm asking you for action steps. What do you need us to do? Who are the sectors you need involved? What can we do? Because we share your vision and commitment for America's youth. So take us out with that call to action. And again, I'll start with you, Senator Casey, and round out with Senator Booker.
I would say keep doing what so many who will be paying attention to this have been doing, bringing ideas to us, helping us work through the policy, but help us make the case to both parties in Congress, both houses. This cannot be done with one party. It has to be done in a bipartisan fashion. I think there's a strong impetus on the Republican side in the Senate for something like this, but we've got a lot of work to do to get that bipartisan support we're going to need. And sometimes that isn't simply talking to members of Congress directly, it's talking to the folks that support them, the grassroots or others who support them. And so making the case for the imperative to give children the full measure of freedom, not just because it's an American ideal, but because it literally will ensure our economic future in addition to the future of that one child.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Senator Booker?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and the Aspen Institute for having Senator Casey and myself on. I want to thank Senator Casey, who's really been an ignition point for a lot of these ideas in Congress. And so that's what I would say to folks. If you want an action step right now, is to understand that policy matters. Policy matters. What you are being able to articulate, don't just say we need to do something about child poverty, know the policy. And the great thing about things like baby bonds is it's catching momentum. DC, California, Connecticut, because policymakers have been working with thought leaders to actually turn ideas into action. This is how we got the GI Bill. What a generational wealth creator. This is how we got programs everywhere from the HUD and the FHA programs that help the boom of our building, of our housing booms that help create generational wealth, to even the explosion of industry all throughout the United States. It's been because folks like who are listening to my voice right now didn't just say, oh, this is really nice. I'm going to get behind ideas that matter. And this is a great idea. It should be a birthright in the United States of America. If you're born here, we are going to invest in you. Just the psychology of that alone, we know from the studies shows that children knowing there's an investment account increases their chance of going to college 400%. It's stunning. And that's what we need to know, that this is a community of people, this great nation that believes in all of its children, regardless of your background. We're investing in you. It is a policy that can make a transformative change. And let's do something big in our generation, not just draft off of the big policy ideas that became real under our parents' generation.
Thank you. Thank you both for that. And I'll just add my quick call to action that I know you all know from the stakeholders you work with, that one of the most promising parts of this is how multi-sector and stakeholder this is, from financial service industry to advocates to education advocates. All of us know what a child needs to thrive. And so from the Aspen FSP program, the invitation for all sectors to really get involved in the various ways you guys offered up to us, we put out there too. Thank you both for your time. Again, I know you have another busy jobs, but your priority on this matter to even show up today, and then of course to do the work that you're doing in the Senate, we have a huge amount of gratitude for. So thank you again, and we are here to support you and to see this moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks, Cory.
Thanks, Bob.